Have you ever looked at your life, your job, or maybe even your English skills and thought, what if I just erased everything and started from zero? I'm Rose, and welcome to English Through Situations.
And I'm Jack. Today we are not solving a strange mystery, and we are not fixing a workplace email. We are exploring a very big, very personal question.
Exactly. Welcome to our series, What Would You Do? Today we are talking about hitting the reset button. The topic is, what would you do if you had to start over?
It is a fascinating concept, because starting over is something everyone thinks about at some point. Sometimes life forces us to start over, and sometimes we choose to do it ourselves.
And we are going to look at how to talk about this kind of massive change in English, how to express fear, excitement, and planning.
Plus, we will connect this idea directly to your language learning journey. If you could start learning English all over again, what would you do differently?
I love that question. So let's jump right into the situation. Jack, set the scene for us.
All right, let's imagine this scenario. You wake up tomorrow, and you are in a completely new city. It is a beautiful city, but you do not know a single person there.
Okay, that sounds a little scary, but also kind of exciting. No friends, no family nearby, just me.
Exactly. But it goes further. You do not have your current job anymore. Your career history? Gone. You have a small apartment paid for the next 3 months and just enough money for basic food and coffee.
Wow, 3 months of safety, but after that I have to figure everything out. I have no job title, no network, no routine.
That is right. You have a completely blank slate, a clean page. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody has any expectations of you. You can be anyone, do any job, and create any daily routine you want.
A blank slate. That is such a great phrase. A blank slate means there is nothing written on it yet. You can write a completely new story.
Yes. So, the big question for our listeners, and for you, Rose, is this. What is your first reaction? Do you panic, or do you feel free? What would you do on day one?
Honestly, I think my very first reaction would be pure panic.
Just total panic?
Yes, because as humans, we love comfort. We love knowing where to buy our morning coffee. We love knowing what time we start work, and we love knowing who to call if we have a bad day. When you take all of that away, the silence is very loud.
That is a very honest answer. The loss of a safety net is terrifying. A safety net is the people or things that catch you when you fall. Family, a stable income, a familiar home.
Right. If I woke up in that new city with no job and no friends, I think I would spend the first 24 hours just sitting in my new apartment, feeling completely overwhelmed. Overwhelmed means feeling like everything is too much to handle.
I completely understand that. But what happens on day 2? You cannot sit in the apartment forever. You only have 3 months of rent paid.
Well, on day 2, I would probably go find a coffee shop. Not just for the coffee, but to be around people. I think the hardest part of starting from scratch is the loneliness.
Starting from scratch. That is a perfect phrase for this situation. It means starting from the very beginning with absolutely nothing. So, you go to the coffee shop. Then what?
Then, I think the excitement would finally hit me. I would buy a fresh notebook, because you know I love notebooks, and I would write down a question. What do I actually want to do?
That is the magic of starting over. Most of us are just continuing the path we started 5 or 10 years ago. We rarely stop to ask if we still want to be on that path.
Exactly. If I don't have to be a podcast host, if I don't have to do what I did yesterday, what are my options? I might decide to work in a flower shop. I might decide to learn how to bake bread. I could completely reinvent myself.
To reinvent yourself. To change your image or your career completely. It takes a lot of courage to do that.
What about you, Jack? What is your reaction to the blank slate scenario? Do you panic like me, or do you instantly create a spreadsheet?
I feel attacked. But yes, I would probably make a plan. However, I don't think I would panic as much as you.
Really? You wouldn't feel overwhelmed?
I would feel nervous, sure. But I think my dominant feeling would be relief.
Relief? Why relief?
Because maintaining a life takes a lot of energy. Keeping up with emails, maintaining a specific career image, fulfilling obligations to 100 different people. When all of that disappears, there's a massive sense of relief. The pressure is gone.
That is a very interesting perspective. You see the past as heavy, and starting over makes you feel light.
Exactly. I would see it as a chance to drop all the bad habits I have collected over the years. On day one, I would establish a perfect routine. Wake up early, exercise, explore the city on foot.
You make it sound so easy. But what about the money? You only have 3 months to survive. How do you find a job when you have no connections in this new city?
I would start small. I wouldn't look for a massive, high-pressure career job immediately. I would look for a survival job. Something simple that pays for my food while I figure out my next big step.
I like that phrase. A survival job. A job you take just to pay the bills, not for passion or career growth. That actually takes the pressure off.
It does. But let's pivot this conversation a bit. We just talked about starting over in life, moving to a new city, changing careers. But what about our listeners? Let's apply this concept to learning English.
Oh, I love this connection, because so many people feel stuck with their English. They have been studying for years, but they feel like they are not improving. They have hit a plateau.
To hit a plateau, that means your progress stops and you stay at the same level for a long time. It is incredibly frustrating.
So let's ask the question. What would you do if you had to start learning English all over again? Imagine all your vocabulary and grammar knowledge is gone. You are a complete beginner tomorrow.
This is a great thought experiment. If I had to start over with a language, the very first thing I would do differently is I would completely ignore grammar books for the first 6 months.
Really? No grammar at all? Traditional teachers are going to be angry at you, Jack.
Let them be angry. The problem with how most of us learned a second language in school is the obsession with rules. We learned to fear mistakes before we even learned how to say hello naturally.
That is so true. We become paralyzed by perfection. We think, oh no, is this present perfect or past simple? And while we are thinking about the rule, the conversation moves on.
Exactly. If I started over, I would focus 100% on listening and copying. I would listen to podcasts, watch videos, and just repeat whole phrases. I wouldn't try to build sentences word by word. I would learn English in chunks.
Learning in chunks, meaning learning a whole phrase like, what would you do? Instead of learning the grammar of what plus would plus subject plus verb.
Yes, because when you learn chunks, you speak faster and more naturally. It feels less like a math equation and more like music.
I completely agree with you. If I had to start my English journey over from scratch, I would change my relationship with making mistakes.
What do you mean by that? How would you change it?
When I first started learning languages, I hated being wrong. I would stay quiet in class because I didn't want to sound foolish. If I started over, I would make it a game to fail as fast as possible.
A game to fail? That sounds exhausting.
No, think about it. If you go into a coffee shop and try to order in English and you use the wrong word, the worst that happens is the barista looks slightly confused. You correct it, you get your coffee, and you never forget that word again.
The embarrassment makes the memory stronger.
Exactly. But if you stay silent, you learn nothing. So, my day one of starting English over would be going out and trying to talk to someone, even if I only knew 10 words. I would embrace the messiness.
To embrace the messiness. To accept that things will not be perfect and to be okay with it. That is beautiful advice.
You know, talking about this makes me realize that we don't actually need to lose our memories or move to a new city to start over.
That is the secret, isn't it?
Right. You can choose to start over right now. If your current method of learning English is making you miserable, stop doing it. Hit the reset button today.
If reading textbooks makes you sleepy, throw the textbook in the drawer. Start watching a TV show you love with English subtitles. Change your environment.
That is a very empowering thought. You are never completely stuck. You can always change direction.
So, we have explored the fear of starting over, the relief of a blank slate, and how to apply this to language learning. I think it is time we highlight some of the specific vocabulary we used naturally in this conversation.
Yes, let's move to the language focus section. There were some incredibly useful phrases today for talking about change, beginning again, and feeling overwhelmed.
Let's start with a beautiful idiom we used early on. A blank slate.
A blank slate. This means a completely new beginning, with no past mistakes or history holding you back. Think of it like a clean white board with nothing written on it yet.
Exactly. For example, you could say, she moved to a new country because she wanted a blank slate.
That is a great example. Try saying it with us at home. A blank slate.
A blank slate. Our second phrase is a safety net.
A safety net is something that protects you or helps you if things go wrong. It can be money, it can be family, or it can be a backup plan.
Right. When you start over, you often lose your safety net. Here is an example sentence. Having a good group of friends is a wonderful emotional safety net.
Repeat after me. A safety net.
A safety net. Now, if you lose that net, you might feel our third word, overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. This is an adjective. It means feeling like a situation is too much for you to handle, either emotionally or practically. It is a very common feeling.
It is. If your boss gives you 10 projects in one day, you feel overwhelmed. Example. On my first day in the new city, I felt completely overwhelmed.
Your turn to repeat. Overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. Our fourth phrase is very similar to a blank slate. It is starting from scratch.
Starting from scratch means beginning from absolute zero, without any previous preparation or advantage. Usually it happens because something failed, or you chose a totally new path.
Yes. For example, if your computer crashes and deletes your essay, you have to start from scratch. Or, in our situation, after quitting his job, he had to build his career, starting from scratch.
Practice saying it. Starting from scratch.
Starting from scratch. Next up, we talked about changing who you are. The phrase is to reinvent yourself.
To reinvent yourself. This means to completely change your image, your career, or your lifestyle so that you appear to be a new person.
Madonna is famous for reinventing herself. Or in normal life, you could say, after she retired, she reinvented herself as an artist.
Try saying this one. To reinvent yourself.
To reinvent yourself. All right, our sixth phrase is about money. A survival job.
A survival job is a job you do just to pay for basic things like food and rent. You do not do it for passion, and it is not your long-term career.
Exactly. It is a stepping stone. Example, he worked at a bookstore as a survival job while studying for his degree.
Repeat after us. A survival job.
A survival job. Our seventh phrase is specifically about learning or practicing a skill. To hit a plateau.
To hit a plateau. A plateau is a flat area of land. So if your progress hits a plateau, it means you stop improving and stay at the same level.
Many English learners hit an intermediate plateau. They can talk, but they do not feel like they are getting better. Example, I was losing weight, but this month I hit a plateau.
Say it with us. To hit a plateau.
To hit a plateau. And our final phrase, which is maybe my favorite advice from today, is to embrace the messiness.
To embrace the messiness. To embrace means to accept something willingly and enthusiastically. So, embracing the messiness means accepting that things will be imperfect, chaotic, or full of mistakes, and being okay with it.
It is the best way to learn a language. Example, if you want to speak fluently, you have to stop worrying about grammar and embrace the messiness.
Last time, repeat after me. Embrace the messiness.
Embrace the messiness. Great job, everyone. That brings us to the end of our language focus.
And now, we turn the microphone over to you. It is time for our viewer question.
We have talked a lot today about what we would do, but this series is called What Would You Do? So, we want to hear your thoughts.
We have 2 questions for you today. You can answer either one or both. First, if you woke up tomorrow in a new city with a blank slate, what is the very first thing you would do?
Would you find a coffee shop like Rose? Would you make a survival plan like me? Or would you do something completely different?
And our second question is about your language journey. If you had to start learning English over from scratch today, what is the one thing you would do differently?
Let us know in the comments. You can start your sentence like this. If I started over, I would...
For example, if I started over, I would watch more English movies without subtitles. We love reading your answers, and we read every single one of them.
So today we explored the terrifying but exciting idea of a blank slate. We talked about losing our safety nets, finding survival jobs, and reinventing ourselves.
And most importantly, we learned that whether you are moving to a new country or just trying to improve your English, you do not have to be perfect. You just have to start, and you have to embrace the messiness.
Remember, you are never truly stuck. You can always hit the reset button and try a new method.
If you enjoyed this conversation, please hit the like button. It helps us know what kind of situations you want to explore next.
And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and share this video with a friend who is also learning English. Sometimes learning is easier when you do it together.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. You have been watching English Through Situations.
Real English, real situations, better conversations.
I'm Rose.
And I'm Jack. See you in the next episode.